Hello, welcome to the Death by Disney podcast, the podcast where I, Adam, review literally every Disney movie that's ever been made. Today we're talking about 1963's The Incredible Journey. Did I like it? I gave it a 6 out of 10. So, not the best mark, and I'll tell you why. So, it stars Emil Guinness, John Drahe, and Tommy Tweed, and it was written by James Alger. More on him in a moment. If you don't know the story of The Incredible Journey, it's the inspiration for the 1990s classic talking animal film Homeward Bound Incredible Journey. But in that movie, the animals can talk, or at least we can hear their voices. Their mouths don't actually move. But this is the story of two cats and a dog that set off on a treacherous 200-mile journey towards home. Here's my review. This is a very bizarre film to watch, and by the standards of Disney live-action movies from the 1960s, the story is about the quest of three animals to return. I lost my spot. To return home. They have various adventures, like being attacked by a bear, the cat nearly drowns, but they meet very many kind people along the way who help them reach their goal. The film looks beautiful in an odd way. It manages to capture the glory of a Canadian fall in the opening credits, and the rest of the film is shot with really bright and audacious Technicolor. It also has a narrator who does a lot of narration, much more than would be in a modern film. It's not necessarily bad, but it doesn't make the film enjoyable also. It gives it a sort of sleep-inducing effect. I imagine if you had problems falling asleep, you could put this movie on in another room and just drift away to the monotony of the narration. One wonders if animals were harmed during this production. After all, they do use real bears, real dogs, and cats. And there is a scene where a dog gets attacked by a porcupine. Now, I highly doubt if they actually made the dog attack the porcupine, but probably the scene did involve someone somehow gluing porcupine-like quills to the dog, which wouldn't have been that pleasant. In fact, the canine actor who plays the previously mentioned dog has a glum look throughout most of the film, and its treatment by the production no doubt contributed to that state of being. If you're looking for a much better version of this story, reimagined in 1993, is a film, as I mentioned previously, called Homeward Bound. It has talking animals, which is one of my favorite things ever, and because the animals can talk, we hear their thoughts but do not see their mouths moving, as I also previously mentioned. The narration of the original is not required, and I think it's better. People criticize that movie for being juvenile, but it's kind of like a classic tale of talking animals. Um, about the animal abuse, in the remake, The Homeward Bound, in the IMDb page, the trivia page, there's lots of explanations how they actually did each shot. In this, there isn't. And although I don't have any direct evidence, I would say that the circumstantial evidence is that there was animal abuse on this film. The writer of the film, who I mentioned before, James Alger, he did a lot of Disney nature films, including one called White Wilderness. And White Wilderness is famous because it's where the idea that lemmings commit mass suicide came from. And they don't actually do that. The shot was made by literally throwing lemmings off of a cliff, which is crazy because the species of lemming featured in the film doesn't actually migrate. So I know a lot of people feel a sort of nostalgia towards this Disney nature thing, and some of the films are okay. Perry, I watched recently, is really, really good, but the question in my mind is how much animal abuse did they really put those animals through to make those films? And I would suspect it's a lot. Um, okay, so I gave you some trivia. And now I'm going to give you uh, a negative review and a positive review. And like always, both of these are going to be a bit. Well, I don't know about the positive one, but the negative one, we're going to have a lot to talk about. So this is 1 out of 10, gets a 1 on a principle of animal abuse. Sheesh, the trailer alone just about shows everything I didn't need to see. I wonder how many cats and dogs they went through to finish this movie. Milo and Otis here. You'd think Disney got better, and I suppose they did, but even dumb baby films like Snow Buddies have some controversy behind them. Surprised this doesn't get talked about more for Disney's checkered past. This is way more egregious than Song of the South, which is about as tame and white bread simple as it can get if you actually watch it. A dog and cat get into a scuffle with a black bear. A trained bear can still kill you, setting them into cold and running water. A cat gets attacked by a bobcat and is clearly not happy. Hell, at least in Cannibal Holocaust, they just straight up killed the animals and ate them. They didn't cover up how heinous it was with a sociopathic Disney veneer. And that's from Uraidun, and unfortunately, that's from this year of 2025. Why do I say unfortunately? Because Song of the South, I hate to say it, is actually a good movie. Uh, it's a very racist movie, and the whole premise of the movie is incredibly racist. But I think people forgive it because when they watch it, they're like, "Oh, this is really entertaining. Oh, I like it. Yeah, 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 whatever." But I think I, I do think it's a good point. Like, why isn't Disney criticized for other darker things in its past? It seems to be criticized a lot for its racism, and yeah, there is a lot of racism in Disney's past, but it's not criticized for films like this, which, yeah, you know, and I don't remember, but when you watch those kind of more controversial films that they still have on Disney Plus, they don't have Song of the South. But when you watch Peter Pan, which is much more racist than Song of the South, it does say like that there are, uncomfortable stereotypes or something. I don't think that before this movie there's any indication that there was animal abuse. And the story I told you about White Wilderness, nobody knew that until like 40 years after that movie was released. So it took like a CBC, which is a Canadian television station, it took a CBC documentary crew uh, in 1983 to uncover that fact. So, yeah, you do make a good point about the animal abuse, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say both animal abuse and racism are bad. You know, they are. I know we live in weird times in America, but they're both bad. Okay, and here is the positive review. 10 out of 10, a sheer delight. I love the 1993 film too, but I just prefer this delightful classic. The humans are good enough characters, but to me, the animals were incredibly charming, adorable, and very convincing actors are the best thing about this movie. Though there are many other things to like about The Incredible Journey too, especially the understated and thoughtful documentary like narration, beautiful scenery and photography, and beguiling soundtrack. Not to mention a sweet and heartwarming story that effectively shows themes of friendship and determination. All in all, The Incredible Journey is a truly delightful film. 10 out of 10. And Brittany Cox. So why is that as unhinged as the other one? It's as unhinged because uh, just of the fact that um, she says that the the animal actors are very convincing, and there's a scene with a bobcat, and the cat is like clearly not happy, you know. So I think that they did abuse the animals. So I gave it 6 out of 10 because it is a charming film, but it is very problematic. Yeah, I would agree with that. I can see why people would like it, but I think you have to think about the abuse, and I think a lot of Disney films where there's casual racism could just be fixed by removing that scene, but this whole movie could not, in any possible way, be fixed. Like, Song of the South can't be fixed, this can't be fixed. So, in terms of horribleness of film, like of moral and ethical dilemma, yeah, it's one of the worst Disney films. But in terms of actual enjoyment, yeah. So, yeah, I would put this like this one with Song of the South is probably one of the worst Disney films in terms of ethical and moral problems. Yeah, what do you think? Please leave your comments in the video or on any podcasting app where you can leave a comment. Please do that. And yeah, I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye bye.